I want to present Samir. When I first met Samir, I didn't like Samir because he was the kid that was just doing way too much for his age, and I was like, ugh, and I'm here in detention. So, ladies and gentlemen, Samir.
Thank you very much, Marlon. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Samir Rahi, and I believe that everyone wants to do good in this world. We want to do good for ourselves, to get a good job, to make money, to be happy. And I believe we also want to do good for others, whether it's because they're our friends or our family, or just to fulfill a need that we have in ourselves. And so we have this image in our minds of the kind of person that we want to be. We have our dreams and our goals, things that we could do, we should do, and that we would do if only the right opportunity presented itself. And so we wait for the perfect moment or the perfect person to come along and say, here's something you can do. Now, we can do that. Or we can go out and create those perfect opportunities for ourselves. And we can do this by exercising the fantastic power that each person in this room has. And that is the choice to act and the importance of acting now. I'm here to show you how choosing to act has created those perfect opportunities for me to do good in this world and how it can do the same for you. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. If you Google my name, Samir Rahi, and please, fellow smartphone users, don't Google it now, you'll find what I call my public story, and it's basically this. I am the founder of a nonprofit organization called the LiveSmart Initiative, which I started when I was in 7th grade as a 13-year-old. Now, LiveSmart was founded and is run entirely by kids, which makes us a little unique already. And our purpose is to teach life skills. So what are life skills exactly? And why are they so important? Well, life skills are things like knowing how to work well in teams, how to work with people who think differently from you. It's knowing how to manage your time and communicate effectively in different situations. And it's knowing how to lead when you have to and how to follow when you have to. And these skills are important, not just in school, but in work and in life as well. Globally, almost 40% of new positions aren't filled because companies can't find candidates that have these life skills. So they are important, and we must learn them to do well. Now, LiveSmart was founded, so like I said, LiveSmart was founded in 7th grade, and in the beginning, it was really just me. But then that changed. It became three people, and then it changed to 10 people, and that became 47 volunteers last year, and then finally to this year, where we have 120 student volunteers, kids just like you and me. Last year, we reached over 1,000 middle and high school students with our message. And this year, our school district, Fort Bend ISD, and a couple of very special people there who chose to believe in me, is sponsoring LiveSmart to establish a club in every high school in the district. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're doing some great programs as well, like surveys and reports of social media usage in academics, running career day programs in middle school, and providing algebra and homework support to high school students, as well as a really neat program called Connect the Dots, which will help students visualize each and every step that they need to take to get from middle school to the career and life of their choice. And while we do have a couple of committed adult volunteers who've helped us set up a strong online structure so that LiveSmart can reach any school in any community, the heart of LiveSmart is the kids who, despite the drama and pressure of teen life, took time out of their day just to help other kids. And that's why, in these past 2 years, LiveSmart has grown beyond anything I could have ever imagined. So many of you may be like me, because when I hear about somebody who's doing something big or who's done great things, I think, wow, that's impressive, but what did they do to get there? What steps did they take to bring them to that point? Now, I want to answer some of those questions for you, at least for me and for what I've done. So you've all heard my public story, and I want to share the story behind my story and how the choice to act, especially when it's been optional, has always been a part of my life, whether it was made by me or by somebody else. Now, this is me in May of 2000, when I was 2 years old. This is also the month in which my dad became a single parent. Now, at the time, my dad was running his own company, he had employees, and had a future that was fairly well planned out. But now he had to make a choice of whether he wanted to be a part of my life. He could have chosen to do nothing, to go on with his life as normal, and that would be that. But he didn't. He chose to raise me as a single parent, to turn his world upside down, and to follow a path whose end he did not know. So in May of 2000, we became a family of 2. And yes, 2 is a family. Don't let anyone tell you different. Now, while many of us may know the challenges that single moms face, we often don't realize how hard it is to be a single dad. One of my earliest memories of this is that when my dad was traveling around the world for his work, he would often have to change my diaper, as you do with a little baby, right? But in countries around the world, most men's restrooms did not have those little baby changing stations. And my dad told me that after having to deal with this problem a couple of times, he became a very good on-the-fly improviser. Yeah, Dad's told me that story a couple of times. But so it was things like this, having to spend long hours with my dad in his office, or having to travel everywhere with him for his work, having to get up early to stay up late, that allowed us to develop a very close bond. I remember this one time when my dad was working for a week in London. One day, I had to sit in an office for 5 hours without a single complaint while my dad carried on his meetings. And I did it happily, all because I knew that afterwards, he was going to take me to the Tower of London, where I could buy this plastic sword that I had my heart set on. So through all of this, through the long hours, the late nights, the travel everywhere for his work, and the time that we spent together in the office, my dad and I developed a very close bond. My fondest memory of this is sitting in his office in the back of the meeting room while my dad was conducting his meetings, just with some Legos and an Etch-a-Sketch, happily playing, and just kind of lost in my own world, just doing my own thing. But at some level, I was observing my dad, and I was seeing the skills that he used to communicate and to get his work done. And at some level, I began modeling those skills. And when I started hanging around with my friends later on in 6th and 7th grade, I realized that the skills I had learned were different from the skills my peers had learned. And my life was very different from others. And actually, a great example of this was that from the age of about 2, Dad would drop me off at work at around 6 in the morning when he was on his way to work. And he would pick me up at around 6 to 6:30 in the evening when the after-school care program was closing. And I was often that last kid in the daycare. So this means that my days were 12 hours long, just like my dad's. And in true kid fashion, I always found time for a fantastic nap somewhere in between. But despite all this, my dad and I developed a very close bond. And like I was saying, I began modeling these skills, thinking that this was the norm, that every kid spends their days like this. So when I started hanging around with my friends in 6th and 7th grade, I realized that my life was very different from theirs and that these skills weren't as present among my peers. And I wanted to change that. I was faced with the choice to act. Now, my dad, being the person that I bounced every idea off, said, "Hey, Samir, I think that's great, but if you want to make it happen, if you want to make it real, you have to do something. You have to take a step." And so I listened to him. I took that first step. And it was as simple as talking to my teacher and getting her feedback. And while my original idea didn't work the way I thought it would, it led to working with 2 childhood friends to help kids in a children's hospital stay in touch with their friends, family, and school. We were enabling the communications life skill. And that led to working with 10 classmates who would come over to my house and brainstorm on how we could grow LiveSmart to reach more students. And that led to the formation of the first LiveSmart Club at my high school, which in turn led to our school district noticing our efforts and wanting to sponsor a LiveSmart Club in every high school. And at each point along the way, there was a moment to turn left or to turn right, an opportunity to choose to act and change something or to keep walking and do nothing. And I chose to act. So what would I like you to learn from my story? Well, first is that you don't need every advantage to start out. My single dad, which many would consider a big handicap, turned out to be one of my biggest strengths. And second, you don't need to start big, just start. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. So let's say you have this desire to act. You want to do something to make a change, but you don't know how to start. Well, that's okay. That's normal. Here are some lessons that I've learned that can help get you started. Now, the first question you may ask yourself is, well, what opportunities are out there? What can I do? Now, to be aware of the opportunities that are around you, you have to be connected to the world. You have to see, to hear, to connect with the people and things around you where you can make a difference. You have to be present in the moment. But if you're focused on sending texts or you have your earphones on all the time, you're less likely to see those opportunities. So you have to unplug from your technology and plug into the world around you. Unplug to plug in. That's lesson 1. Now, when you start connecting to the world around you, you'll realize that there are a lot of places that could use your help, a lot of opportunities for you to make a change. And this leads directly into the second lesson, which is if you're not sure where to start, try a variety of things. Try everything that catches your interest. Some things will stick with you, some things won't. But when you find something that resonates, stick with it. Make it yours. And over time, that cause will turn into a hobby, a routine, and eventually a part of your life story and the way in which other people remember you. Now, I think that the final lesson, the most important lesson, is that the choice to act is not a one-time thing. It's almost a daily reminder that you have to give to yourself of the kind of person you want to be and the kind of world you want to live in. And don't be preoccupied with just doing the big things. In fact, most acts of good start out as small, ordinary things that may grow to become something grand. So do those ordinary things in an extraordinary way. Do them to give back. Do them just for the sake of doing good. And when you believe in a cause, when you have a passion for it, something wonderful will begin to happen. Other people will see you and they'll start gravitating towards you. They'll believe like you believe, and they'll want to help you to push your good deeds further. And you may even inspire them to go out and do good on their own. And in this way, you'll begin circulating the currency of good with your friends, your school, and your community. So think of each one of these little acts that you're doing as a brick that you're laying. So you do one small act after the next. You have brick stacking on top of brick. And eventually, like I was saying, somebody will come along and say, hey, I like what you're making here. I've got a brick for you. And they'll begin giving you their bricks, their good deeds building on top of your good deeds, bricks stacking on top of bricks. And eventually, you'll have something grand before you, almost before you even realize how you got there. So I want to leave you with a challenge today. And that is, if you've been looking for a way to start something good, make today that starting point, that marker in the ground from which you'll measure your progress. And then in 1 month, in 2 months, in 3 months, I want you to look back on today and see what change you've made in your life, in the lives of others around you, and what change you've made in your community. Ask yourself, what have you done for good? So whether you're 15 or you're 50, make that choice to act today. Start laying those bricks and see what grand creations you can build. Thank you very much.